Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2023 annual meeting of the members. I am Neil Couture, the Chief Executive Officer of ASNT, and I welcome our members and guests in attendance. I would like to introduce the elected officers present on the stage today. First is Mr. Danny Keck, Chair of the Board of Directors. Dr. John Chen is President, and Mr. Clyde May is Vice President. Also present is Mr. John Kinsey, President of ASNT Certification Services, LLC, and a member of the ASNT Board of Directors, and Ms. Heather Coles, Secretary. I would like to recognize the members of the ASNT Board of Directors who are present. Would you please rise when your name is called and remain standing? Please hold your applause until all names have been called. Dr. David Elaine, Ms. Stacy Cote, Mr. Larry Culbertson, past President Mr. Roger Engelbart, Ms. Kathy Ferguson, Ms. Cindy Findley, Ms. Anita Gregorian, immediate past Chair Mr. John Iman, Mr. Brian McKenna, past President Mr. Ricky Morgan, Ms. Emily Peliquin, Mr. Jason Riggs, Mr. Tim Roach, Ms. Shana Telez, and Dr. Satish Utpa. Thank you for being here today. We have several past presidents of the Society present in the audience today, whom I'd like to introduce. If you would, please rise when I call your name and remain standing. And again, let's hold our applause until all names have been called. Mr. David Bajula, Mr. David Culbertson, Mr. Roger Engelbart, Mr. Robert Fioli, Mr. John Iman, Ms. Jocelyn Langlois, Mr. Danny Keck, Mr. Joseph Mackin, Mr. David Mandina, Mr. Michael McGloin, Mr. Ricky Morgan, Mr. Hussein Sadek, Mr. Kevin Smith, Mr. Marvin Trim, and Mr. Michael Turnbow. Have I missed any? Welcome and thank you for being here. I would also like to recognize the visiting dignitaries from our sister societies who are in attendance today, several of whom have traveled a very long way to be here with us. Would you please rise when I call your name, and again, please remain standing and hold our applause until all names have been called. Ms. Monica Farr and Mr. Nathan Carter of the American Welding Society, Mr. Tim Gonzalez of AMPP, Mr. Richard Stalker and Mr. Damien Clark of the Australian Institute for NDT, Mr. Shohei Uka and Mr. Takwa Hatayama from the Japanese Society, Mr. Ganesh Kumar from ASNT's India section, Dr. Krishnan Balasubramanian of the India Society, Mr. Jorge Amsler, Mr. Joao Conte, and Mr. Antonio Alessino, and Ms. Irani de Oliveira of the Brazilian Institute, Mr. Glenn Trubret from Canadian Institute, Mr. Pierre Husarek from CoFriend, Mr. Ian Cooper and Mr. David Gilbert, the British Institute, and Ms. Carolyn Bull of the UK Research Centre, Mr. Emilio Gonzalez and Mr. Augustin Marin of the Spanish Institute, and Mr. Fermin Gomez Frey of the European Federation, Mr. Jostine Tverdal, Mr. Stale, Thone von Krogh, Mr. Havard Svetbold, and Mr. Stein Hemdahl of the Norwegian Society, Mr. Amikai Pisach of the Israel Society. Thank you all again for traveling all this way and for being here. This meeting is being conducted live here in Houston, and it is being broadcast simultaneously to members online through Zoom. Online participants will be able to see and hear the presentations and the discussions in the room, but we will ask online members to type their questions and comments into the chat box in Zoom. Your questions will be relayed to us and we will respond accordingly. We appreciate everyone's patience with this process. Also be informed that we are recording this event and will make it available for member viewing shortly. I now invite Ms. Heather Coles, Secretary, to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Couture. Notice of this meeting was published in Materials Evaluation in October 2023 and emailed to members on October 3rd and again on October 10th, thereby meeting the notice requirements of the ASNT bylaws and the Ohio Revised Code. The notices included instructions for attending the use of telecommunications equipment, and members are joining us online today. The bylaws require attendance of at least 1% of the members being assigned to no fewer than 10 sections for a quorum to be present. I have determined that the quorum has not been met. However, members should note that there are no items of business on the agenda today requiring a membership vote. There will be time allotted for members to make comments or questions of the officers after all the presentations are complete. And I now invite ASNT's Chair of the Board of Directors, Mr. Danny Keck, to the podium.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I now call this meeting to order. Meeting agenda is shown on the screen. I will review the highlights from the past year and review our progress against our strategic plan. President Chen will provide some updates on our key external partnerships and collaborations. The Chief Executive Officer will review the association's operations, and he will also review the Society's finances in the absence of our treasurer. I ask that you hold your questions until after all presentations are complete. We have set aside time for members' questions at the end of the meeting. For those members attending online, we ask that you type your questions into the chat box in Zoom. A staff member will read your name and the question to the audience, and the appropriate officer will respond. I am pleased to report that we have built on last year's success in our board recruiting efforts. Once again, the Leadership Development Committee had a wealth of talent to select from, with applications from 31 highly qualified members. This set a new record for applications, exceeding the 27 we received the previous year. The members elected 5 outstanding directors who assumed office in July 1st, including Dr. David Elaine, Ms. Kathy Ferguson, Ms. Anita Gregorian, Mr. Brian McKenna, and Dr. Satish Udpa. I congratulate the Leadership Development Committee and its chair, Mr. John Iman, for the terrific job in recruiting and nominating candidates, which will ensure the Society is well led into the next decade. I would also add, for those members who applied but were not nominated or elected this year, I encourage you to reapply, as our mix of qualifications for the board changes each year. We have had several directors elected after prior unsuccessful attempts, so don't be discouraged. I'd like to recognize several members who completed their service in the board in June of this year. If you are here today, please rise when I call your name. Dr. Anish Pudel, Mr. Gary Churchwell, Mr. Larry Gill, past President Mr. Michael McGloin, and Dr. Phil Chu. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service. Just this morning, the board approved the bylaws amendments which implemented 6 changes. They included the change in the title of our senior staff position from Executive Director to Chief Executive Officer, change in the title of Director at Large to simply Director, add the President of the ASNT Foundation to our Board of Directors, delegated the authority to the Board of Directors to appoint 1 director each year at its discretion, and reduced the number of directors elected by the voting members from 5 to 4 each year, and add the president of the ASNT Certification Services, LLC, to the executive committee. Most of these changes are cosmetic. However, delegating authority to the board to appoint one director each year provides the board with the flexibility it needs to recruit volunteers who possesses unique skills and experiences to address ASNT's emerging needs. The board has the discretion in this matter. They may appoint one director each year, but it is not a requirement. We thank the members who provided comments and questions on the proposal. Your feedback remains essential to the effective governance of our association. We're now in the second year of implementing our strategic plan. Many of the objectives have already been accomplished, and we have adjusted timelines and milestones to others. The Strategic Management Committee recently approved the release of the 2023 plan update, which will be published shortly. I would like to focus on a few key points here. In the area of certification, there are 3 important milestones to report on. First, the ASNT 9712 program was launched in April 2023 with the release of UT, PT, MT, and RT certifications for both Level 2 and Level 3 personnel. ASNT has self-certified this program that it complies with ISO 9712 2021 edition, non-destructive testing, qualification, and certification of NDT personnel. And over the next 2 years, as we develop the required data points, we will obtain ANSI's accreditation for the program. We expect to release additional methods and industry exams over the next few years. The program is currently available in Houston and in Chennai, India, at our new facility, as well as at client sites upon request. ASNT 9712 program replaces the ACCP program, which is being sunsetted over the next 2 years. Secondly, we are very pleased to report that ASNT and the Japanese Society for Non-Destructive Inspection agreed to terms for mutual recognition of our respective ISO 9712 certification programs for both Level 2 and Level 3. ASNT was honored to participate in JSNDI's 70th anniversary celebration in July, at which time I had the pleasure of signing the document to add Level 2 to our mutual recognition agreement. We are presently working together to develop the implementation plan. Watch our website and emails for more information. I would like to thank our colleagues from JSNDI for their endurance and tenacity in making this happen, as well as their hospitality and kindness in hosting delegates from around the world for their celebration. Professor Ihara, Dr. Ogato, Mr. Uka, thank you for your true friendship and being such a steadfast partner over the years. Thirdly, we expanded our industry sector qualification for the oil and gas industry with UT thickness, shear wave, and now phased array exams presently available. Several more qualifications are planned over the next 2 years. In addition, ASNT Certification Services is assessing options for developing of our next industry qualification. They're also assessing the feasibility of integrating the industry sector qualifications program into the ASNT 9712 program. We look for this program to expand significantly over the coming years. Under Pillar 2, which is to improve the value of membership through content and engagement, we successfully acquired an integrated NDT Classroom, which is the industry's leading online training platform. Most of you know the creators of NDT Classroom, Mr. Chuck Hellier, Mr. Jim Treat. Neither could be with us today, but we wanted to publicly thank them for their vision and leadership in NDT training, setting the standards for quality online education years before it was adopted by other organizations. NDT Classroom has quickly proven to be a valuable member benefit as we bring cost-effective quality training to our members. Last October, the board approved the establishment of a training and certification facility in Houston to support the oil and gas industry in the Gulf Coast region. The new facility opened in April this year, and we have begun conducting computer-based testing and practical certification exams and training courses there. The ASNT Certification Committee also does specimen validation, storage, and shipping from that facility. I hope you all had the opportunity to visit ASNT Houston on Friday night for our NDT Technicians Open House. Over the coming years, we look to enhance and expand our education offerings through in-person courses, which include hands-on lab practicals, and to establish partnerships with other education and training providers through the ASNT franchise program. Pillar 3 of the strategic plan is to support the development and advancement of the NDT workforce. I am pleased to share that ASNT is in discussions with our friends at NDTMA, AATA, and API to develop a joint apprenticeship program for the NDT field. I want to acknowledge Mary Beth Maselli from NDTMA. Hi, Mary Beth. Let's see, I'm sorry. John Stewart from AATA. Is John here? No. And Andre Orphanitis of API. I know that together we can accomplish great things for the NDT profession. We will keep the members informed on the progress of this important program. Pillar 4 of the strategic plan is to advocate for the NDT field. While we are relatively new at advocacy, we believe our efforts are making an impact. First, our Faces of NDT team have expanded to 5 ambassadors, shown here. We're not shown here yet. Maybe not. Okay. These volunteers have represented ASNT at 9 STEM events over the past 2 years, spreading awareness about NDT to countless event goers. Furthermore, they exhibit a strong commitment to promoting NDT within their respective communities. The Faces of NDT play a pivotal role in bolstering our marketing and communications endeavors, contributing through activities such as social media engagement, awareness and promotional videos, support at the annual conference during UT competitions, advocacy columns, blog posts, and various other initiatives. The Faces of NDT are here at the conference. I encourage you to stop in at the ASNT booth to meet them. I know you'll be impressed. Our public relations campaign has really taken off this past year. In partnership with Stanton Communications, we've successfully featured our content in numerous industry publications, addressing current issues, trends, and technologies within the NDT industry. ASNT has harnessed the expertise of 15 subject matter specialist members to respond to media inquiries, facilitate public education through interviews, and contribute to article content. We published articles in 9 industry magazines and conducted several interviews on time-sensitive issues. We have been featured by The Hill, the Associated Press, Constructive Executive, Civil and Structural Engineer, Aerospace Manufacturing, and others. ASNT entered into the world of legislative affairs led by ASNT board member Jason Riggs, who chairs the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee. We have begun developing an agenda which is focusing on informing and educating key members and staffers in the federal and state legislatures about NDT and its applications, its technologies, and the innovation opportunities, and to advocate for regulations and policies that support further NDT adoptions, utilization, and certification requirements. This not only includes educating governmental officials about what NDT is, but also what federal and state regulations currently exist requiring employment of non-destructive evaluation and testing methods and how they may be enhanced. One of those little-known facts is that the majority of our members, and as many as 40% of our certified professionals, reside outside of the U.S. More than 1,500 of them are located in India, which is one of the reasons ASNT decided to expand operations there last year. I'm pleased to report that our new facility in Chennai opened in August, establishing the leading NDT training and certification facility in India. Please run this video.
In the heart of India's vibrant city, Chennai, where innovation meets opportunity, a new chapter is about to unfold. Welcome to ASNT, established in 1941, the epitome of non-destructive testing excellence. ASNT is the leading organization for non-destructive testing professionals who are dedicated to creating a safer world. ASNT provides unwavering support to its members and certificate holders by offering unparalleled expertise, valuable networks, enriching events, extensive educational opportunities, and world-renowned certification programs. Through our wide range of products and services, ASNT empowers our members to uphold the utmost professional standards, thereby safeguarding both industry assets and human lives. NDT touches so many industries and now more than ever. In India, Asia, and the Middle East, driven by a vision to make the world safer, ASNT is on a mission to train, certify, and empower NDT professionals. Our mission is clear: to advance the field of non-destructive testing. We plan to achieve this through education, certification, and research, uniting a community dedicated to excellence. ASNT India, a proud subsidiary of the American Society for Non-Destructive Testing. Central to our vision is the ASNT India Training Center, a cutting-edge hub of excellence where professionals will shape their future in non-destructive testing. We've reimagined the in-person professional learning experience and designed a state-of-the-art training and exam facility that will feature the latest, most advanced equipment, ensuring students and trainees have the best possible training experience to prepare them for successful careers in the NDT industry. Computer-based certification exams taken at the ASNT India facility are delivered with security you can count on. ASNT's computer-based exams are designed to proactively detect and prevent misconduct before and during exams. Through rigorous psychometric procedures, all certification exam questions are thoroughly validated, and examination results are meticulously analyzed using the same procedures. ASNT India offers a comprehensive suite of services to elevate professionals in NDT, including ASNT-approved training courses, and ASNT NDT and ASNT 9712 Level 2 and 3 exams. When students and trainees take a class or exam at the ASNT India facility, they can feel confident that they are receiving quality training taught by experts from the NDT field that will prepare them for the daily challenges they will face on the job. We believe in fostering camaraderie and knowledge sharing, and thus, ASNT India will host a variety of events to connect the brightest minds in the industry. We've created an environment that supports learning, deepens student engagement with the course material, and facilitates personal connections within the NDT industry.
We are thrilled to bring ASNT's first ever facility to India, and this marks a pivotal moment for the NDT industry in the country. ASNT India's Chennai facility is about 7,500 square feet. The laboratory is around 2,500 square feet. We have 4 classrooms, a meeting room, and a computer-based testing center of ASNT, all under one roof.
For more information and to join us in this transformative journey, visit www.asntindia.org. Thank you for being a part of ASNT India's legacy. Together, we will chart a brighter future in non-destructive testing.
I'd like to recognize Mr. Prakash Gokulanandam, General Manager of ASNT India Private Limited, who has worked tirelessly over the past year to get the facility open, the staff hired, and the equipment acquired. Great job, Prakash. Thank you. I'd also like to recognize Mr. Clyde May, our ASNT Vice President, Mr. John Kinsey, President of ASNT Certification Services, LLC, and Mr. Paul Lang, the Executive Director of ASNT Certification Services, who represented ASNT at the India Section's ICI NDE 2023 conference and at the facility's grand opening in August. Thank you, gentlemen. The sixth pillar of our strategic plan is to expand scholarship and research in the field. How many of you here today participated in the first annual ASNT Foundation Golf Tournament held here Saturday? Wow, it was good, by the way. The foundation will also be conducting an auction in the exhibit hall during the conference, culminating in special auction of ASNT Celebrates on Wednesday evening. I encourage you to visit the ASNT booth and then attend Celebrates to participate in the auction. We estimate the event will raise more than $25,000 for the foundation. Not bad for the first such event. The foundation also establishes 2 new scholarship funds, one each in the names of Mr. Chuck Hellier and Mr. James Treat, to provide scholarships for undergraduate and continuing education programs. We look to issue calls for applications soon in these 2 programs. Clearly, ASNT has made tremendous progress in its strategic plan over the past 2 years, but much work remains to be done. I encourage members to review the strategic plan update for 2023, which has been posted on the ASNT website, to see what we have planned. I would now like to invite President John Chen to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The role of ASNT president has evolved over the years. I think many of us has witnessed that. And the current leadership team, the president serves as the face of the association, representing ASNT to our members and sections and to other societies and organizations. Whereas Mr. Keck focused on governing the society by presiding over the board of directors and the board committees and ensuring our strategy plan is successful, I carry forward our message to the world. So that's a picture from a Charlotte meeting. For example, I recently attended the Charlotte section's annual shrimp ball, where I got to share details about what ASNT is doing, which will help our members. So the next slide is photos from ASNT conference and the Saudi section visit. I was also honored to represent ASNT at the Indian section's ICI NDE conference in 2020 in Chennai, India, and Vice President Clyde May represented us at this year's event held in Pune, India. Mr. Ayman and Mr. Keck visited the Saudi Arabia section over the past year. Over the course of my term, I expect to visit at least a dozen sections as part of my duties. The other officers and directors help as well, since I cannot get to them all. These visits not only enable us to share information about ASNT, they give us firsthand feedback from members and other stakeholders about what is important to them, about the day-to-day challenges they face in their jobs, and issues their employers struggle with. Over the past year, our team has attended events hosted by NDTMA, ASME, API, AWS, and other technical societies across the US, as well as international ANT societies, including JSNDI, the Japanese Society, AINDT, the Australia Society, CINDE, the Canadian Society, and the BINDT, the British Society. In June 2024, ASNT will send a delegation to the 20th World Conference on NDT, hosted by the Korea Society in Seoul, Korea. ASNT has always engaged in the international NDT community. However, our leadership team is committed to not only engaging, but actively leading the international NDT communities. So the next slide is, well, you see all this display there. For example, our members serve on the board of APF-NDT, the Asia Pacific Federation, and the PAN-NDT, the Pan-American Federation. Our volunteers and staff actively engage as members of working groups and in advisory roles to ASNT, the Global Federation. And the ISO Technical Committee 135 on non-destructive testing. Chair Keck was recently elected to serve as president of the 17th Asia Pacific Conference for NDT to be held in Honolulu, Hawaii in May 2026. Congratulations, Mr. Chair. So the next slide is MOU with international societies. On Wednesday, we'll be hosting our international society colleagues in an international forum to discuss issues and challenges common to our societies. We look to share information, ideas, best practices, and solutions which will make us all better. We believe this is in our collective best interests as well as the interests of the global NDT community. As many of you know, we maintain memoranda of understanding with more than 40 international societies listed here on the left. Thank you for your continued support and engagement. I now ask the Chief Executive Officer to come to the podium.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to present this report on the Society's business operations. In the area of membership, as of June 30th of 2023, ASNT has 12,346 members, including 398 lifetime members, 10,655 regular members, 558 new professional members, and 348 student members. This is a decrease of 541 members from last year. This slow decline continues a trend we have discussed in prior years and is in part attributable to reductions in student members and the elimination of the former corporate partnership program. However, our research has found that many technical societies like ours are experiencing similar declines in membership. This is a phenomenon not unique to ASNT. Association research indicates that there's a fundamental shift in how younger professionals view traditional membership associations. Whereas in my generation, it was expected that you would choose your field in your 20s and work to advance up the chain within that field over a long career of 40 years or more. Today's professionals are much less concerned with following in their parents' footsteps. Their goal isn't the gold watch after a lifetime of commitment. It is living a life of meaning crafted across multiple careers and a diversity of life experiences. These people will engage in their professional societies in ways which they find meaning, and only for as long as they find meaning in the association. Not all people entering the workforce share these values, of course. I'm sure you'll know someone who is taking a traditional career path. But these are indeed the shifts we are seeing in society at large, and it holds important implications for membership associations. To address this evolution, ASNT is researching alternative membership models. What seems to be gaining traction are models like those adopted by Amazon and Netflix, which are subscription-based. I can foresee a day when anyone will be able to join ASNT at no cost to gain access to not only the content that they need, but also available at competitive prices. I can also envision a subscription approach where members subscribe to plans which provide varying degrees of content and access. We also need to recognize that ASNT is not solely an individual membership society. Like other technical societies, we must have concern for ourselves with what employers and industries want and need and be prepared to serve them. Gone are the days when member societies and trade groups had very different interests, structures, programs, and constituent groups. Today, we have much more in common with trade groups such as API than ever in the past. We are presently conducting a research project to confirm what companies want and need from ASNT. The research will enable us to develop new programs and products which organizations will find relevant. ASNT recognizes its members who have made great contributions to the field over long careers by placing their names on the Tree of Knowledge following their passing. We have 2 people to honor this year, including Mr. Thomas J. Flaherty II and Mr. Leonard J. Garcia, Jr. Flaherty was recognized as an ASNT Fellow in 1981 and received the Charles and Sherlock Meritorious Service Award in 2007 and the 50-year member recognition in 2017. Garcia was recognized as ASNT Fellow in 1974 and received the Mentoring Award in 2005 and the 50-year membership recognition in 2018. Please join me in saying thank you to these 2 heroes of ASNT. Also of note, that's a photo of the tree on the wall at the Houston facility. So if you have a chance to go visit, please do. The Awards and Honors Council, which is again led by past President Hussein Sadek, selected 73 individuals for awards, many of which will be presented on stage throughout this conference. We are pleased with the high degree of engagement in our awards program as we again set a record for award nominations with 118, which is 1 more than last year. I am pleased to share the Council is considering a new award program to recognize organizational achievements in NDT. I'll be watching our announcements for more information about this exciting development. I'm also happy to report that we'll be recognizing 33 sections with President's Awards for their outstanding performance on Thursday at lunch. Unfortunately, we didn't charter any new chapters this year, any new sections this year. And in fact, we dechartered 10 sections that had gone inactive. This is attributable to there not being sufficient volunteers available to operate these sections. Like what we're seeing in membership, declines in local sections is not unique to ASNT and is largely attributable to shifts in society. Volunteerism is changing. The younger generations actually volunteer as much or more than their parents did. However, increasingly their volunteer efforts are directed at social causes rather than at professional societies. And when they do volunteer, they're not interested in working their way up the volunteer chain for 12 years or more in order to work on important things. They want meaningful engagement now and will move on to other things rather than serving in roles where they don't find meaning. We see these same challenges of volunteerism at all levels of the association, not just at sections. And it remains a focus of attention for all of us. It impacts our ability to produce content, to operate councils and committees, and to stay connected with stakeholders. I am pleased to report attendance at this year's conference is near record levels. Not only that, but we have achieved a new record in exhibit square footage and are within a couple of exhibitors of our largest number of exhibitors ever. It's safe to say, I think, that we are now fully recovered from the COVID years. Feedback from attendees following last year's event confirmed what we knew, which is our approach to events is paying off. Everything today is about better content and more opportunities for engagement, and our team is delivering on both of those. This year, we are introducing an after-party to the ASNT Celebrates Awards banquet, an attempt to inject a little fun into the event. We're making the banquet shorter and the speeches a little tighter, just to make it, again, a little more enjoyable for everyone. We welcome your feedback about these changes. I hope you attend. Over the past year, we've hosted several successful events, including digital imaging in New Orleans in May with 237 attendees and 37 exhibits. The 31st Annual Research Symposium in Columbus in June with record attendance of 237 participants, and the 17th International Symposium on the Non-Destructive Characterization of Materials in Zurich in August with 95 participants. We also conducted 2 virtual events this year, including ASNT Rewind 22 in February, which replayed the best sessions from last year's annual conference, and Convergence, Defining the Future of NDT and the Adoption of AI/ML which had more than 270 registrants. ASNT remains the global leader in NDT content publications. We maintain more than 275 titles in print or in ebook format, with sales of more than 26,000 units last year. In the past year, we published 8 new books and standards, and we plan to publish 8 more by the end of spring 2024. Increasing our foreign language translations is an important priority. In the past year, we released Mandarin translations of SNT TC1A 2020 edition and Interpreting SNT TC1A 2020, and a Portuguese translation of the UT Classroom Training Book. Our editors continue to investigate the use of AI tools to accelerate and expand translations, which will enable multi-language publication of a large portion of our book inventory. ASNT continues to invest in new IT platforms to deliver expanded content to our members. I encourage you to visit The Source, our new one-stop online bookstore for our entire publication and periodicals portfolio. Buy a book, read the current ME, or a back issue from as far back as 2016, or search for research papers. You can visit The Source through ASNT's website. Speaking of periodicals, performance metrics such as downloads, views, and circulation, impact factors, and speed metrics for both materials evaluation and RNDE continue to improve. In July, we published a special issue on AI/ML. In what has become an annual event, I am once again proud to announce that ASNT was recognized with multiple awards for print and digital content in 2023, including the 2023 Excel Bronze Award for video for This is NDT, NDT Technicians Video Series from the Association Media and Publishing Network, the 2023 Apex Awards for print media, for meeting and event materials for ASNT Daily, social media for ASNT Pulse, and once again, the NDT Technician Video Series for electronic media. And last, 2023 Trendy Award for Materials Evaluation, which received the Bronze Award for Society Magazine from Association Trends. Congratulations to the publications, content, and marketing teams for their accomplishments. In the area of education and training, as previously mentioned by Mr. Keck, we acquired NDT Classroom in February from Mr. Treat and Mr. Hellier. I am pleased to report we received more than 500 e-course registrations in the first 5 months of operations. Our team looks to build on the great foundation NDT Classroom provided through additional courses over the next couple of years. Moreover, with the launch of ASNT Houston and ASNT India, our in-person courses will be expanding quickly to meet member needs. ASNT certified 1,217 individuals in the past year, compared to 794 the previous year. This includes 1,035 ASNT NDT Level 3s, compared to 508 the previous year, and awarded 175 ISQ U2 thickness, compared to 385 the previous year, and 7 UT Shearwave, compared to 12 the previous year. All of those were the last ones were in the industrial sector qualification. ASNT has certified fewer people than typical since the pandemic. However, the recertification rate was also a little bit lower than last year. This results in the total number of people being certified is a little actually higher than this time last year by about 1.1%. We're seeing consistent re-engagement in the certification program since the pandemic. I'm also happy to announce that in 2 weeks we'll launch MyCert, which is our new online platform for certification applications and records. The system enables paperless filing of acquired documents for certification exam and recertification applications. Gone are the days of your PDF and paper uploads. ASNT remains committed to providing the best content and engagement for people in the field of non-destructive testing. As Mr. Keck described earlier, we are 2 years into the implementation of an ambitious strategic plan, which calls for significant growth in membership and revenue over the next 5 years. We recognize that nothing will get done without your support, and we invite you to participate in making our vision a reality. I will now review the association's financial reports in the absence of the treasurer. ASNT has evolved over the past several years into a larger and more complex organization with a more international focus. With the strategic plan has come significant investments in technology, facilities in Houston and India, and new programs and services for members. To more effectively manage these investments, we need to up our game in several areas. First and foremost being in financial analysis and reporting to the Business and Finance Committee and to the Board of Directors. To meet our growing needs in this area, I have begun recruitment of a Chief Financial Officer position. I also recently hired Markham Associates, a financial management advisory firm which specializes in nonprofits, to conduct an assessment of our accounting systems. I am pleased to report that they confirmed what we already knew, which is we have strong financial controls and business processes in place, and the staff team is quite strong and competent. The new CFO will assume leadership of a very tight ship. Our collective challenge is to carry ASNT forward to bring spending in line with revenues. As we pointed out last year, ASNT's board is investing significantly to position us to grow. As our revenues grow, however, we need to ensure that we bring spending in line with our revenues over time and weed out bloat to ensure that we achieve our financial goal of positive margins from operations by fiscal year 2027. The information I am presenting here is from the unaudited financial statements for fiscal year 23, which ended on June 30th of 2023. The independent audit is currently underway and is fully expected to receive an unqualified opinion for the fourth consecutive year. Fiscal year 23 will be remembered as the year ASNT invested in its members. Of our $12.6 million in expenditures, more than $3 million went to build new systems, facilities, and programs as we implement our strategic plan. I will remind you that the plan contemplated as much as $14 million over 5 years in investments to achieve the stated objectives. And as we reported last year, we spent $560,000 in strategic initiatives in fiscal year 22, bringing the total investment to about $3.5 million over the first 2 years of the plan. While the financial markets remain volatile between July 22 and June 23, our investment portfolio grew in value by more than $2.7 million. In summary, we have now recovered about half of the value lost during the market declines of fiscal year 22. ASNT's balance sheet remains strong. Our net assets are $33.7 million, which is $1.6 million more than at the same time last year. You may recall that in July 2021, ASNT invested $670,000 in land adjacent to the ISC in Columbus. While this was intended as a long-term investment to protect the value of our existing building, we received an offer we couldn't refuse from a developer. In July, we sold the land for $1.875 million, yielding a tidy return of 180% in just 2 years. This will give our balance sheet a nice boost in fiscal year 24. ASNT's revenues for the year were $8.7 million, which was an improvement of 18% over the prior year. Revenues were up in almost all areas, including conferences where the post-pandemic rebound continued through last year and into this year, where we are again projecting our highest revenue ever here in Houston. Certification revenue also rebounded to pre-pandemic levels with revenues of $3.4 million, an increase of 21.4% over last year. Part of this growth is attributable to resurgence of recertifications, as many people delayed their renewals during the pandemic. We are beginning to see new revenue streams from the ASNT 9712 program in the first quarter of fiscal year 24. We will have more data to report on this program at next year's meeting. Education revenue grew dramatically as ASNT implemented NDT Classroom, which was acquired in February of 2023. With only 5 months operating in fiscal year 23, we doubled our total education revenue from the prior year. We expect this growth to continue into fiscal year 24 as we add in-person classes to our facilities in Houston and Chennai. Advertising revenue continues to slip as advertisers shift their spend from print media to digital media. Again, this is a phenomenon many professional associations are experiencing. Our efforts to build our digital portfolio are in part designed to provide more digital advertising options for our advertisers. I will also point out that our exhibit sales for the conference grew almost 25% over previous highs, as advertisers are spending more on in-person events. On the expenses side of things, we can see the effects of $3 million in spending on strategic initiatives, particularly in certification and administration. With these investments included, the net operating deficit was $3.9 million. What that means is that we experienced a deficit of about $1.4 million from continuing operations not related to our strategic initiatives. I can report that the three-year plan for fiscal year 25 to 27, approved by the Board of Directors in June, projects eliminating operating losses by the end of that plan. I want to put this in perspective. ASNT endured ongoing operational deficits since fiscal year 2015, caused in part by some bad decisions and exacerbated by some extreme technology deficits. Then endured a global pandemic, which depressed revenues by as much as 50% for a couple of years. And then we implemented an aggressive strategic plan calling for as much as $14 million in spending over 5 years. To achieve break-even by the end of fiscal year 27 will be quite an accomplishment. Lastly, and as I stated last year, our members should know the Board of Directors, with the Business and Finance Committee, are deeply engaged in the financial oversight of the association. They have made clear their expectations that ASNT must effectively manage its growth so that the resources are not wasted and to return solid investments to the members through expanded program offerings and enhanced value. As your CEO, I remain committed to achieving these goals. And with the help of our new CFO, I know we'll do exactly that. Thank you for your attention. So, ladies and gentlemen, the officers will now entertain questions from the members. Do we have a microphone in the back? There you are, Ms. Tony. So if you have a question, raise your hand. Tony will bring you the microphone, and we'll take your questions in turn. For members attending online, please post your questions to the chat box in Zoom, and the staff will relay them to me.
Don't everybody raise their hand.
Shall we repose to the bar? No? Oh, that's right. We still have a conference to run.
Is this on? Okay. We do have one online question.
Okay?
We're asked, please explain the difference between ISO 9712 and ASNT 9712.
ISO 9712 is the international standard. ASNT 9712 is the name of the program that is going to be certifying in accordance with ISO 9712. Did I get that right?
Right on the ball.
Okay. One other question. Why is administrative and governance almost $6 million?
That reflects the investment that I was referring to. So one of the fun things about financial statements is it's hard to see the difference between just operating expenses and some money that you're spending to build something or capital investments. We don't amortize a lot of those spendings. So what they do is they show up as an expenditure. We put them under administrative. As a matter of fact, our accountant advisors that we just brought in this morning, actually, for the Board of Directors, advised that it would be helpful if we take those out of our financial statements and put them below the line as a way of reflecting the more appropriate actions that are happening in operations. I'm a little bit hesitant to do that. Whenever you take things out of a financial statement and move them below the line, other people might view that as gamesmanship. So it is what it is. We invested over $3.5 million in things and stuff and services intended to develop new programs and services for the association. That's the real truth. No other questions? Sir?
Is this working? May I add, we probably are expecting 3 or 4 million next year, again, right, if you include the investment we spend.
Oh, yeah, feel free to look at the budget. We have included in the budget for next year a lot of the activities that we're going to be spending money on, which are reflected in the budget, which will be another couple $1 million. Yeah. This is, for those of you that have been in membership associations, and certainly in the United States, we gather reserves over the years. We like to call them rainy day funds, but ASNT also has a thing called the Opportunity Fund. The Opportunity Fund is money set aside explicitly for the purposes of investing in the members, building products, programs, or services for you. And so in our reserve policy, it specifically contemplates that. It actually, in the current policy, says $10 million is in opportunity reserves. So that's what we're tapping into, is to build things. So that's, but again, it shows up in the financial statement as an expense under the administration or in the programs area. Any other questions?
Yeah, Neil, you mentioned several times the office in Houston and the office in India. So what happened to the Columbus office and the ISC in Columbus?
So during the pandemic, one of the things that happened was, and I don't think it was caused by the pandemic, I think it just accelerated it, was the reality that we have new ways of working. And so we have, during the pandemic, we all went virtual, like a lot of you. The nature of our work is knowledge work. So we're not out on a job site inspecting things. So we have the luxury of, frankly, virtual work. And so following the pandemic, we made the decision to continue to virtually work. Our staff was very interested in doing so, and we did. And so what happened is we had this lovely facility in Ohio that was sitting empty, quite literally empty, and we were spending about $120,000 a year just to keep the electricity on and the temperature on and so on. So we made the conscious decision to utilize that asset more effectively. So we have leased out the facility. It is now generating positive income for the association. Our staff all work remotely. We have employees in 15 states presently. What this has done is the unintended consequence was it opened up a whole realm of talent that I wouldn't have had access to otherwise. I mean, I'm sure you know that Columbus is a lovely town and there's a lot of talented people there. But sometimes it's hard to recruit talent to Columbus, Ohio. So now, again, the last probably 10 to 12 hires we've made have been from outside the Columbus area. They're around the country. And we're getting the best talent as a result without having to inflate our costs. So we are in a virtual mode. The facility is still there in Houston. It's just a leased facility. We maintain a small WeWork type office where our accounting team does their thing and where we get the mail. Yeah. Sir?
Yeah, I don't know if I need the mic, but I was hoping to engage with the Training and Certification Board. I don't know if that's the right, while being here. What's the best way to do that? If you have questions?
I would start by contacting this gentleman down here, Paul. Stand up. Paul Lang is the Executive Director of ASNT Certification Services. So if you're interested in the certification conversation, start with Paul. If you're interested in the education side of the house, I'll put you in contact with my staff member that manages that. Her name is Pam Rosenberg.
Do you hold open sessions, discussions during the conferences, or no?
I'm sorry, open session?
Yeah, open sessions where the certification group meets?
Oh, CMC, the certification board, has already met.
Sunday.
They met on Sunday, that's correct.
Okay. It's just sometimes difficult for people to participate in those kinds of things on a Sunday. Is it an open session?
Some of their work is open, but some of it is closed.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
There was another question up here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Now, you mentioned investing back into the base, right, that makes this kind of all possible. As far as the members that come to these meetings, every 5 years we recert, right? Myself, it's a few $1,000s for me to have to recert. Is there anything in the future that you guys are looking at on making that a little more economical for the members? Whether you award a member for coming here, you have a raffle or something where they get, a handful of tests comped, essentially.
So is there something planned to try and reduce the cost in the area of certification? No. The cost to maintain a certification program, as you can imagine, is not inexpensive, especially as you do practical exams which require inventory and so on. What we are trying to do is to make sure that what you get for your money has value. So in terms of credit for attending conferences or credit for attending events, that's a conversation I'd have to refer to our certification team to get into more specifics. But no, we're not trying to reduce the prices per se, we're trying to improve the value to make it worth having that certification. Okay? Oh, Mr. President?
So may I just add a little bit more on that? You know, if you're talking about like certain content is available remotely, so you could have access to that content. You don't have to travel there, so save some travel cost in that regard.
Yeah,
If that helps answer your question. Yeah.
Thank you, John. There's lots of different ways to access the content to get the hours that you need to qualify or requalify. But in terms of what is accepted and what is not accepted, I'm going to have to refer you to Paul for that conversation because that's his department. Tony? Microphone? Yep. Sir?
Hey, so just speaking frankly, so I was a level 2 for a long time, and I train a lot of level 2s. And to be honest, they see little value in joining ASNT. So I'm wondering if there's plans to put things in place to give them value.
So the board doesn't talk about much else.
When I train younger inspectors, I say, are you an ASNT member? No. Okay, what can we do? Don't really care. So
No.
I'm just wondering if there's ways we can engage as level 3s, because let's say books, I
Yeah.
buy their books.
Yeah.
Training, I set up their training. I do everything for them. So I'm just trying to figure out better ways to engage level 2s and add to
Yeah.
the society's membership.
No, that's part of the challenge, which is this has been in a society, frankly, for level 3s, by level 3s, for level 3s for a long time. How do you provide value to level 2s? So I can tell you a couple of things. Number one, we haven't solved it. We haven't dialed the algebra in here. Definitely something the board of directors is talking about. One of the things we've been talking about internally and with various suppliers is bringing some form of an online tool to help you manage, help a level 2 manage their experience and training hours and essentially their record, like through a logbook type of an app. There's a lot of different programs and industries that have such things. We're looking at whether that could be an essential part of membership, like a membership value. Other forms of, such as when you join or renew, having a complimentary admission to one of the e-courses to get you started, that kind of thing. But I'm going to be honest with you, as of right today, we don't have the full answer, but it's definitely one of the top 2 or 3 things that we're addressing for how do we be relevant to level 2s, and frankly level 1s, and those that are not even technicians. I mean, there's an entire industry of peripheral people in adjacent fields, whether it's a business development person, sales rep, all kinds of different folks that don't care about a level 1, 2, or 3 credential, but still very much want some value from us. And historically, we just haven't looked there. So it's on the board's agenda. Any other question? Oh, back there.
Yes, I was wondering if there was any plans on implementing aerospace standards into ASNT's certification. You know, NAS 410 is a separate certification than ASNT, and I am prior military, and I've noticed that there is a military membership, but a lot of military NDT technicians are aerospace foundation, so they don't really see value in an ASNT membership because there is no ASNT certification for aerospace.
Would one of my certification, Mr. Kinsey, can you address that question?
We are looking at what next industry sector qualification program that we will roll out. So that is one that we're looking into at the moment. There's quite a few things that go into that, but it is a discussion that's taking place.
Yeah, and the other thing is in the workforce development side of the house, we're looking at, and we have for years, frankly, been looking at how do we have an effective outreach to former military to get them to enter the field? What is it you need to make that translation? Those kinds of questions. Again, it's been on our docket for a long time. We've kicked around a lot of ideas, but we really haven't cracked the nut, so to speak. So, but it's important for us to get there. And thank you for your service. Thank you. Mr. Mandina.
Just to clarify a little bit about the AS410 and the middle standards, I wouldn't think anybody would need to hear.
Now that he has the microphone, we're done.
Because I work in this area a pretty good bit. You know, the new mill standards come out, and there's an addition to the back of it. So there is ASNT TC1A with an adder on the back, much like ASME had before. So that's kind of where it's going. And as we go through, because like last year, I wound up having to take a NAS 410 phase array test and then turned around and had to get another one for mill standard because we missed it by 2 questions from the guy who tested me the first time. So there's a lot of change in the standards as far as mill standards, and you just need to be aware, keep your head on a swivel. They do accept the ASNT certifications for a minimum part of it, but it's a little bit complicated with the new release, so it's not as easy as just saying, well, let's do the mill standard, ASNT, you got to do this. Right. It's kind of ingrained. There's a lot of changes going on as we move through that area, so just a little bit of update for you.
And thank you on that, Dave. And by the way, we've just started, through one of our board members, started the conversation with AIA on how do we solve some of that conflict or that disconnect. I think that they're interested in solving the same problems. So I expect progress there. Other questions? This gentleman here, get the microphone. He controls it from the back based on who's talking.
There's a lot of focus on
Before you start, may I ask you to state your name? That way you get famous, you know. If you can't have a question we cannot answer, hey, I'll...
Walt Asmus with Bridgewater College in Hutchinson, Minnesota. There's a lot of focus on improving training materials, resources for level 3s by the level 3 organization and so on. My question to ASNT is, what are we doing to recruit into the NDT field so that we continue to have level 2s and level 3s? Mm-hmm. That's a huge, huge problem. I mean, with the students that we have at the college, we ask them how they got into NDT, and 99% is because they know somebody who did NDT.
Right.
It's not because they bumped across it on an ad or a commercial or the internet or something like that. So I think I'm hoping that there's a tremendous amount of focus. I know there's some STEM events that have been done, so, but I think we need to do a lot more faster.
So you remember that $3-some-odd million I told you we spent last year investing in the field? Good chunk of it's going there. So we actually have a PR firm that literally is giving us both a combination of advice on our strategy, our communication strategy, but also actually getting us out there. So we have an entire workforce development working group. The board talks about it at every board meeting. How do we get the name of NDT in front of people? Because there's not a traditional front door to this profession, and we have to create it. So it's absolutely important. We've done a ton of things. I would rather just frankly have a private conversation with you, because the list of things that we're doing in workforce development is extensive. Like I said, starting with PR, we have a subject matter group, expertise group that write articles in other industry magazines. We have the faces of NDT, who are members under the age of 80, who are intended to be out there in front of the audience, and they go out to Girl Scout convention, high school teachers or counselors association, and they literally go out with some UT equipment and do NDT in front of them to say, this is what we do, this is what this field is, please take this back to your students. We have a group working on a university initiative program where we're going to start talking to you and others like you to say, how do we create more of a network here to share common experiences, address the curriculum issues, address the enrollment issues? We're seeing the same at all community colleges, frankly. There are very few that I've heard from that have said enrollment is up. And so it's a very important issue, and I think the board is tackling it head on. But workforce development issues are things we've been talking about for a long, long time, and it's extremely difficult to put dents in them. And the reason is because we're dealing with social issues across the United States. It's not just the US, but it's certainly our issue. But thank you for your question. Oh, back corner.
My name is Chris Young, and I just want to say that I think your directed efforts need to go a little further to a younger audience. The program that we've got right now here in Houston at Lone Star College has been paired up with a independent school district, and its support from the local chapter here in Houston has made a huge gain in that program. It's probably 5 times bigger than my regular evening students. So reaching further into, like you're saying, I don't think I've gone to Girl Scouts, but reaching out directly to the high school, because invariably the question you have to tell them is, or not explain to them what we do, you have to explain to them what we don't do. We don't check your roof. We're not a house inspector. We don't check your blue jeans. We don't do any of that. We do things that are life and death, and that tends to get their attention.
Thank you.
And you got to convince a mom or dad that they haven't made a mistake in going into something that they have no idea or never heard of.
Thank you. Other questions, comments?
There's one online. One sec. Oh, gosh. Okay, a couple. Any considerations from ASNT to provide online chatbot or similar tool, even AI-driven with drop-down boxes, for real-time technical support for members who operate globally, or provide an online community platform to register and post questions and allow posting of potential solutions from other ASNT members?
So the board's looking at me saying, did you plant these questions? Because we just talked about them this morning. The answer is absolutely. Online communities is an essential part of our ability to provide value when we start talking about level 2s. What else can we do? Well, we can help them by giving them a place to go to talk to other level 2s, talk about the technology challenges, talk about the workforce problems, talk about whatever. But right now, there's really no way to do that unless you get in your car and drive to a section meeting or come to the annual conference, which they won't do. So we are launching an online communities platform here, hopefully this fall, depending on our IT abilities, for exactly that reason, which is we know that people want to engage, they're willing and able to online engage to do it, and especially for those communities we're trying to reach, level 2s in particular. But that's, again, that was part of that $3-point-something million spend. Okay, thank you for the online questions. Sir, wait, microphone down here, and the gentleman.
Can you raise your hand higher? It's okay.
So you guys indicated that you have some funding set up to talk to essentially like lobbyists to Congress. Is there any intention there to get us listed in BLS and potentially get a salary survey? Because that's a huge issue in the industry. Is every company is different. You know, they bin us as sorter, tester, weigher, whatever they do. Is there any intention there on doing that?
Already in progress. We have our workforce development manager, whose name is Bionica Rutherford, who is here at the conference. I invite you to meet with her in the exhibit hall. Bionica is working to get the NDT field elevated in the Department of Labor site to start with, to say that it is not a subset of some other area where now it's kind of deeply buried under engineering technician assistant or something like that. And so getting it to be recognized and listed as a primary field so that the Department of Labor will start reporting on employment, hiring, and wage and salary. However, in addition to that, ASNT has on its list of things to do is to publish or conduct the research and publish a salary survey where we actually go out and do the research ourselves to say, here's the trends we're seeing. Now that's important for year one, but frankly it's best over years, which you can start to see trends in salary. How you know things are working is based on what people are being paid, hiring trends and things like that. So that's in the workforce development plan, and that research project we'll be tackling in fiscal year '24. Absolutely. Thank you.
So if you have any other research ideas, contact ASNT Foundation. So, you know, that's where the research ideas can be collected together, and we'll do those things for members. Yeah. Also, please mention your name, and if you want to, mention which company you're from, you know, so you all get exposure. Thanks.
Okay, looks like we've got the questions covered. I invite you to stop by the ASNT exhibit booth in the conference over the course of this week to continue to talk about these issues. We're happy to answer the questions and take your ideas and recommendations. In the meantime, I want to thank you all for coming. The conference begins today at 4 o'clock with the opening general session speaker. I think it's in Houston Ballroom 5, which is probably just around the corner here, again at 4 p.m. And following that session will be the opening of the exhibit hall and the opening reception. So it's always a good time, always fun, lots of things to eat and drink. Hope to see you there. Thank you again for coming today. We appreciate your time.